Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this November school board meeting to order. And I welcome all of you here this evening. Thank you for joining us. And if you will, please stand as we have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, let's move on to tonight's adoption of the agenda. I have a motion,
So moved.
and that was actually with a change.
Yeah,
with
with
our
the
consent.
revised agenda. Yeah, with the attached revised agenda. Whatever.
That's good. All right, a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on to call to the public. I do not have any sheets. However, is there anyone that wishes to speak to us this evening? All right. Information and discussion. First one is, I'm wrong. I apologize. Student council report with Leslie.
She's at practice probably still.
Possibly. And Miss D'Angelo has been out, so.
Well, why don't we move on, and if she comes in, we can obviously have her come back up. How about the Yavapai County Education Foundation grant update? Agenda item 16. Hello.
Hi. My name is Lizzie Kreidinger. I am a first grade teacher at Tech. I'm here quickly to present my project that was funded by the Yavapai County Education Foundation. Early literacy plays a significant role in a child's educational success. Reading not only exposes children to letters, sounds, sight words, and new vocabulary, but it also builds knowledge, increases listening skills, and comprehension. Reading is also tied to achievement in other subjects. Data has proven that there's a large learning gap for children who have access to age-appropriate books at home compared to children who do not. The Birthday Book Club project I created gives every first grader at Tech a free book on their birthday to help build or start their own home library. This project helped to give families the tools they need to help their child become successful in reading. I know personally my first grade students have all been very excited when it's their birthday and they receive their free book. They can't wait to get home to read it. Many who have not had their birthday yet are even counting down the days so they can also get their free book to bring home. Through the Yavapai County Education Foundation, I was able to purchase enough book for the next few years to help our students in the community grow their literacy skills and foster a love of reading. Thank you.
That's awesome. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I just want to say thanks to Mr. Carter, who's representing the Education Foundation, I assume, as a representative, just to kind of be here in support of Lizzie.
Well, thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Liz.
Superintendent's report, Mr. Shaw.
All right, we have lots of hardware in front of you guys. We had 2 state champions ships this weekend that I'll talk about. We actually had 3 this weekend, but the 2 that have the trophies in front of you are our boys and girls soccer championships. That happened on Saturday down at Williamsfield High School, and both matches were close and kind of came down to the wire, but they worked really hard. We had a lot of parents that participated down there, and I do want to give a shout out to our coaches, Alan Foster for the girls and Todd Carey for the boys, who have led their teams for multiple years and led them to this point where we have the double state championship. I believe for Todd, it's actually, he's won both as a student and as a coach, an athlete and a coach, which is kind of amazing for Chino Valley High School.
Can you remind us who they played?
The girls played Northland Prep, which is in Flagstaff, which has been their nemesis. And the boys played Camberty. Yeah. The third championship I wanted to mention is our mountain bike team, which yesterday won their state championship. And then in addition, we had 2 girls There is Adeline Somerville, who was the points leader in the girls freshman category, and Addie Hulbert, who placed third in the girls freshman category. But they won the Division II Arizona Cycling Association championship yesterday. So I want to give a shout out to them and congratulations to the mountain bike team as well. Questions?
I just think on the soccer, Chino Valley has been a soccer powerhouse for forever. And it's so cool to see another state championship to show up.
They've been, and it's been close over the last several years. The boys and the girls have been within a whisker of winning the championship. And so it was, I took a quote Alan Foster, he goes, he was so proud of his girls and the quality of athlete that he had. He goes, if I can't win a championship, these girls, I shouldn't be coaching. So it was, he led them, but the girls did the work and the same with the boys, and we're really proud of what they accomplished. So. Enrollment, we continue to be up right. We're about 150 ADM over last year, which is at our pre-pandemic enrollment level. We do anticipate a revised budget in December. Is that correct, Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
So it shouldn't be huge changes. It shouldn't be a wholesale changes, but we still want to make sure we get that revised budget with the current numbers that we have from the state. You have a calendar in your packet. Make sure you refer to that. But the big thing coming up is we have our Thanksgiving feasts that have been scheduled at all 4 schools. Territorial has so many parents that we decided to do theirs over 2 days. So we start with Territorial on Tuesday, November 16th, and finish up on Wednesday, November 17th. Then we follow up with on Thursday, November 18th with Heritage Middle School. Chino Valley High School on Monday the 22nd, and Del Rio on Tuesday the 23rd. I will get times out to you, but if you would like, we encourage you to participate. Come on out and help. It's a really neat event to see all the parents come in and other community members and grandparents and everyone else. And I know that and Heidi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's kids that have told you this is the only Thanksgiving that they're gonna get
Yes.
in some cases.
Many times over the years.
Yeah.
Every
John,
year.
it would help if you could send us the times that you want us to be at the different schools.
I'll send you, right, we're gonna identify that tomorrow in DLT, and I'll send you out the times that to be there, absolutely.
Yeah. Super.
On the same subject, didn't you send an email out that you're looking for funds for donations for turkey dinners?
Right, so we're collecting money for community. I'm working with Lori Marley, our homeless liaison or family resource specialist, to identify families that may need to get a turkey dinner. And so what I do is I get the turkey dinners out at Safeway, and when I throw in the pie, which you gotta have pie in with cream, it's about $70 to $75. And so we're collecting money through the Education Foundation. So they'll be the fiscal agent, all the money goes to them. It is they are a qualifying charitable organization, so that could be a tax credit if you choose to. And you're allowed up to $800. That's separate from the school tax credit. And so we're taking that money. I'll go buy the meals and deliver them on Wednesday in the morning to families that Lori Marley identifies that may have that need. I told you, I was telling somebody, I've delivered to hotel rooms because that's where they were living. That's the family. I've delivered to RVs out in a pasture. I've delivered to places that most people wouldn't want to live. And there's definitely a need out there. So, yeah, it's kind of sad to deliver these, but kind of neat that we're helping out a family. So
would you say the 70 to 75 feeds how many people?
4 to 6 is what I believe that they advertise it as.
Okay.
But it includes mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, the turkey rolls, a pie with cream, and I think green beans or something like that.
Gravy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just have to fill out a form, as I understand, and get it back to you.
Correct. We have them actually out in the lobby. If you want to get one on the way out, I can get you a form, and you get that back to Karen, and she'll work with the foundation to get it deposited. And based on how much we raise, we'll go ahead and buy that many turkeys.
But you can take it from the foundation funds if we give the block already to the foundation, right?
This would be addition to the foundation, those like a special fund
It's
to
a
the
special
foundation.
Oh, okay, so that's outside the $400 limit? that the
There's
foundation-
$800 for the
Yeah,
foundation.
but I do 4 in each.
Oh, right, it would be on top of that.
Uh-huh.
And so it could still go towards, as an enrolled agent, I can advertise this. There's a $600 deduction as a married couple that you can take as a deduction on your taxes, even if you itemize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Super.
So,
And that'll be at the office.
yep, it's in the office. But yeah, it's on top of, if you've already done your tax credit, it's on top of that.
Well, I haven't just turned.
Oh, you haven't done your tax credit yet?
I will.
Oh, okay,
But she gets
yeah,
back.
she can take care of it for you.
Uh-huh.
All right, I've emailed you all, any questions about the calendar at all? I've emailed you all about the aggregate spending limit, and I wanted to share that with you. So back, I believe in the 80s, there was a constitutional amendment that said that based on a calculation that only a certain portion of the state budget could be spent on education, K-12 education. And so because of some changes this year, that includes 301, which was a proposition, the extra money that we get for there, which is actually called the Classroom Site Fund, is no longer a proposition, it was a state law now. So it used to be not part of the calculation, and now it is. There was a restoration of district additional assistance. And then on top of that, there was some additional money put into the fund with 20 by 2020, which was the teacher raises that came out. And the calculation is based on prior year funding, or prior year student count, prior year student count. Well, if you think about what happened last year, the state lost 50,000 kids last year. So the numbers are low because of COVID last year, but a lot of those kids have come back. And this is a statewide calculation, not Chino Valley. So because of that, it is anticipated that all the K-12 schools and districts and charter schools in the state are gonna have to cut 16% of their budget, which works out for us to be about $2.85 million. And that number came from the ADE last week, I think it was, 2.85 million. But we won't know if we have to do it until March 1st. When you're talking 8 months or 6 months of the 10 months have already passed for the school year. So now, there is a mechanism that the state legislature can take to waive that requirement. It requires a 2/3 majority of both the House and the Senate. And we are hopeful that that will happen in January. It is an election year. This impacts charter schools, and there's lots of charter school favoring legislators in the legislature. And so we are hopeful that this will happen. We've been talking to our lobbyists and others, and I know that there's been superintendent's meeting with Karen Fan, the Senate President, and the Speaker of the House, and some others, and we are hopeful. But right now, we're just going as is until we find out kind of more in January, once the legislative session starts in early January. But I wanted to throw out that number to you, 2.85 million. It would be difficult to operate cutting 2.85 million in March.
Particularly that late in the fiscal year.
That's why it would be difficult to continue to operate.
Right.
Right? You know, it's we still have electricity that we're gonna have to pay. We still have a lot of things that we've already paid for and bought early. And so really at that point, the only thing we have left is salaries. And again, I don't want to scare anyone. I don't anticipate us having to go there, but it's important that you understand and know what could potentially be out there. So, questions on that? Mr. Fogel?
Yes, so in the event that the worst happens, or that there's an exemption, would we be able to fulfill our teachers, everyone's who works in the district's contracts?
Potentially no.
So that's the problem, it's so late in the fiscal year, we only have left that small amount, which is, think what John is saying is pretty much what it cost us to finish up the fiscal year. That's what's so scary about this.
Yeah.
But the good news is it's gonna affect every school district in Arizona from what you're saying.
That is correct.
Yeah.
It's not just a Chino Valley issue. You know, it's happened before. This is not the first time that this has happened, and the legislature has made the waiver. What I'd like to see is that the calculation is, you know, is 30, almost 40 years old. And it needs to be, if there is going to be that calculation, it needs to be updated, in my opinion. And so hopefully part of that part of the legislation that would take place, I believe it's in the Constitution. So there'd have to be a constitutional referendum that they would have to do, but they could do that as part of the legislature, could put that vote forward for the people to vote.
And do a temporary fix by
Waiving
waiving it. Yeah.
Correct. So I don't think the legislature, and I certainly don't want to go through this on an annual basis. Questions about that? All right, vaccinations. I included the current COVID-19 statistics summary. Cases are going up in Yavapai County. That looks like they'll be going up again next week. The preliminary data that I have looks like it's already exceeded last week's numbers. So things are going up. However, vaccination boosters are available for our staff, for all employees of a school district. Boosters are available. You go to Safeway or Walgreens and you can get your vaccination there for free. You just let them know that you work for a school district. There's also some other qualifiers if you are in the health field and age qualifiers. So those boosters are available. We are not having a booster clinic just because when we had our initial vaccination clinic, they weren't available, at retail establishments. And so it's easy. My mom went to Walmart, went shopping, and got her vaccination, her booster in one and her flu shot in the other arm, and went and bought her groceries. So they're definitely out there.
John, just for the record, Mary Jane and I went to Safeway, in and out in 15 minutes for our boosters.
So
very efficient.
Yeah.
With an appointment, Peter?
No,
Okay.
And then last week, there was the approval of vaccinations for children 5 to 11 years of age. Those use the Pfizer vaccine, which don't really work well out at mobile clinics. And so we don't have anyone in Chino Valley that I know of. I looked on both the Safeway and Walgreens website today. So right now, there's no one in Chino Valley, no retail establishments. There may be physicians that offer it.
Safeway's got a sign saying they have both.
They may have, they may not have the children's dose.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, because I on the website for Safeway, they didn't have anyone, Safeway didn't have any Arizona establishments. Walgreens had the Walgreens over on Sheldon, I believe, in the Depot Marketplace, had availability for kids. And I know there's some physicians some pediatricians that are offering as well. So they are out there. As things move forward, there'll be more establishments. When we get some establishments in Chino Valley that are offering it, we'll get that information out to families. But because of the storage issues, I don't believe we're going to be able to have a vaccination clinic for kids because of the Pfizer vaccine being ultra cold storage there. But we'll share that information as we get it. And again, students and staff that are either vaccinated or have a positive COVID test from the past are not subject to quarantine. So getting those younger kids vaccinated will help out at the Del Rio and territorial schools. And lastly, last week, federal OSHA came out with vaccination requirements for employers with over 100 employees. It's murky whether, I think there's already been a federal judge or an appeals panel in back east that has put a halt on it. Whether that applies to us or not, I don't know. I know that Arizona there's been a couple, or at least talk about from from the Attorney General, along with the governor, about filing cases against the Biden administration, the federal government, because they don't feel that it's legal. And so I anticipate further legal avenues to try to put a stop to it. I spoke to our attorney on Friday on a different manner. I just asked him about this. He goes, no one knows what's going on, just wait. The requirement is, the way the rules read that I understand, is to work for an employer with over 100 employees, you either need to be vaccinated or tested weekly. And we have the infrastructure, we believe, to do that weekly testing. That should not be a problem to ramp that up. And if you are not vaccinated, you need to wear a face covering to work. So.
And that's in the courts though, so national.
Right now, I don't anticipate it, the deadline or the implementation date was January 4th. For the vaccination part, I don't anticipate this us hitting that. I imagine there's gonna be court cases, and if so, I think we're ready to do that, but I don't think we're gonna have to, at least anytime soon. So, but we'll keep, I've been sharing this information with our staff, so most of them should be aware of this. Not to scare them, I just want them to, when this comes out, I don't want them to say, hey, what's going on? And I also shared with them, because I thought about this at the time, I don't think, there's gonna be lawsuits to try to prevent this, and so, we'll come back to the board to come up with some implementation if we do have to do that. Questions about that? Lastly, my evaluation is next month, so please be prepared to spend a little bit of time in executive session after the meeting. As required in policy, I've included the evaluation instrument with you. And Cindy, you wanted to mention something about that?
Yeah, I know in the past, we've always kind of done more of the informal evaluation. What I'm recommending this year, just because we do have a couple of new members, et cetera, is go ahead and fill out your evaluation of the superintendent, the one that's attached. And once we get into executive session, we can make the determination exactly how we want to proceed. If we want to follow the guide, if we want to do it informal, if we want to use this as our guide, however it works out for us. Thank you. That's all.
Any questions, concerns, comments?
Because I don't know, what is our policy regarding the evaluation state?
I believe it states that the board may use it. It's not required to use this,
It's a May.
but may use it.
We went over that a lot, to make it an alternative.
Right. I can tell you that in my experience, so this will be my 6th evaluation, that I've given it out every year, and the board has chosen not to use it. And I don't know prior to that, and you were on the board prior to that.
There's a very complex one beforehand, which is why it was redone in this more logical, simplified form. And yes, we read it once, and then after that, we went to the informal.
So I just think it might be a good guide for us this year, and then we can
It's a good
make that
talking
determination.
points.
Exactly. Anything else for Mr. Scholl? All right, thank you. Moving on to item 61 is our financial report for activity for October 31st in the 2021-22 fiscal year. Mr. Livingston.
Madam President, honorable members of the governing board, administration, staff, guests. A quick summary of our financial position at the end of October of the current year. I'd like to just cover a couple areas. Our operating fund, if you look at the operating fund budget, this has come up before, 2.8% of that is not scheduled to be at the end of the year spent or used. So we're projecting almost a 3% unspent balance. We do loan monies short-term through 6 different funds that are cash-based. And the only way the county will write checks against those funds is if we have the expense that really belongs in those funds at the time we submit the expense in another fund that has cash. So it's like being a banker for some of these other funds. Once those funds pay back our operating fund for about $400,000 $464,000. Then our operating fund, cash goes back up, expense goes down, and we've got about 3% budgeted for not being used. All things being the way they are now. We've discussed that a couple times. Our capital budget is just over $1 million. 42% of that at the present time is either spent or encumbered to be spent. And that's, again, a pretty good place to be. A real quick rule of thumb would be if you've got a 12-month operating year like we do, and we're not even to the 6th month or the end of December yet, we better not be ahead of that 50% in expenses. So 42.75% is about where we feel we should be at that point with capital. We may not spend all of that this year. We certainly don't have to. You've seen some decent vehicles. You see our scissor lift. We got a couple months ago. We got some lights changed in the gym here, and so we're trying to do really strategic things there with our capital dollars as best we can. Another one, adjacent ways fund. Our budget's around $400,000 there. We haven't spent a penny on that yet. We do have a project over to the west at the farm, a 2,000-foot fire lane that we're looking at. That would take probably half of that budget. There's cash in there right now to do that. Raises about $200,000 a year.
Sean, I was going to ask you about that. Is that going to actually happen this year, do you know?
Well, it's been part of another project that we may discuss later, and whether we're going to do it on its own standard, its own merits, I'm not really sure if we're going to do that this
Will
year.
it be contracted with another project or separately, is what you're saying?
It was part of the bid that we're going to discuss, and we probably will table that bid, so it won't be awarded tonight. That's my understanding.
It's actually on the consent agenda for y'all to refuse the bid,
Well,
and then we'll evaluate internally whether we want to submit the bid in a different format. The bid was too much, and to cut the bid lower, it was the bid responses did not support us doing a smaller scale job, or use the bid at a lower scale, one building instead of two. So we're asking you to refuse the bid and then come back and we may submit another bid for you.
Restructure a little bit or?
Go from 2 buildings to 1 like that.
I think that's it. There's some economies of scale if one general contractor shows up and does multiple projects. Per unit costs might be a little bit lower, so it was bundled in that project we're looking at later. Any questions then on the consolidated board report so far? There's a couple funds I'd like to just bring your attention to. One of them is Fund 1. It's Fund 691. And on the cash report there, it shows Fund 691 has a budget of about $650,000. That's our building renewal fund for all the heating, ventilation, air conditioning projects. We've added to that a few. We've got some roof analysis reports and some weatherization design projects rolled into there. Currently, we spent $50,169 in that fund, and we just got another $5,135 from the school facilities board to spend on the weatherization project at Territorial School. So that is moving forward slowly. When all those projects will be finished, it's probably at least a year out before everything's done. And also, I think Carolyn probably got a memo on this one with results-based funding. Did you see that memo about being funded? I thought maybe I was the only person that got it. So yeah, for this year, our allocation is $400 per student. It was awarded for 410 students for a total of $164,366 for results-based funding. And that's kudos to the real school. So we got 96,000 or 60% of it on November 5th. I just haven't booked the revenue yet, but that's really good news for the district.
Good.
Any questions or anything else I can discuss on that?
Any questions, anyone? No, thank you. Would you like to go ahead and move into the student activity fund report?
Yes, I believe this is around $35,000 less than it was in February. First time I saw this report, we're down to $116,000. But that's a really good sign. It just means students are using their funds. Many more things are happening than were last February and March. And everything is present and accounted for. We had an auditor visit last week. We had a short meeting with Cindy Daniels and John Scholes, superintendent, kind of like a little exit interview, and there's some small things that we definitely need to improve on, but we know what they are, and make some improvements. There are USFR compliance issues, like the auction was one of them. when we have an auction, we want to bring those items to you for approval. And there's procedural things like that. We'll just do better. Some of them are brand new.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Any questions on the student activity report? Thank you, Mr. Livingston. All right, moving on to agenda 7A through J, our consent agenda. This is an action item and it does need a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 8A is our personnel report with supplement.
So on the regular personnel report, there's 1 new classified, 2 new classified subs, 3 resignations, 8 classified changes, 3 classified coaches, 9 extra duties, and a slew of timesheets. On the supplement, we had 2 new classified subs, 3 classified changes, and an extra duty. Fairly straightforward stuff for this time of year, nothing unusual or spectacular.
How are we doing on bus drivers?
We are down 4 bus drivers right now. We are training lots of bus drivers, but these bus drivers that we're training only want to do field trips, which is helpful, because that means we don't have to take a route driver off a route to do it, but we are still looking for bus drivers. I'll be coming to you in December when we do a minimum wage increase, maybe upping the pay for bus drivers. And then Chris Walton, our transportation director, would like to implement a kind of an incentive signing bonus type situation for bus drivers as well. And so we'll be possibly bringing that to you as well. Other districts have done that, where you get money a little bit once you sign on, and maybe a little more at 6 months and a little more at 1 year, that type of thing, to make sure that they stay with us. But unfortunately, you can't just take somebody off the street and put them in a bus. It takes a while to actually do training, get them their CDL and their bus cert and things like that. So there's some lagging time, but we are always looking for bus drivers and have those positions available.
Fantastic. Well, this is also, any other questions for discussion? This is an action item, so I appreciate a motion to approve tonight's personnel report.
I move we approve tonight's personnel report as presented
And supplement.
and supplement.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. All right, next is our substitute teacher daily rates, Mr. Schultz.
So two things driving this increase in the daily rate for our substitute teachers. One is the minimum wage going up on January 1st. 2, and you can ask every single principal here, all 4 of them, how many classrooms have you had to be in because there was no substitute teacher?
Just today, 2.
We are in dire need of substitutes, and so
Always daily, somebody.
Daily something.
yeah, we are short subs on a daily basis. So what we'd like to do is increase our sub rate. So our current short-term rate is $90, and if they've taken a class, which the county offers, they can get an extra $10 a day. And if they're a long-term assignment, which is over 2 weeks, an assignment with a length longer than 2 weeks, it could be somebody out on Family Medical Leave Act, or that's typically what it is either an illness or an early resignation. They would right now get $130 long-term. What we are proposing is $120 a day without the class, $130 a day with the class, and $150 a day for our long-term assignments. If you look on the next page, there is a kind of an analysis. And if you think about it, on this, our last normal year, our last non-COVID year was actually 18-19. Because we had the end of 20. We didn't have any subs for the last quarter of 20 or 19-20. So I use those numbers. These are the numbers from 18 and 19 to kind of figure out how much we spent and how much this would cost. And the anticipated cost, if the numbers remain the same, would be about $35,000. And it seems like a lot when the total cost is 120, but we're not filling seats right now. We're not filling positions, and so we have to do something. And again, we're hoping that this will put us in a better spot, and more people would maybe take jobs or think about, hey, I can make $130 a day rather than 90 or $100 a day. And so we are hopeful that that is the case. I only know what Prescott recently raised their rates, and they're about $10 less than we are across the board.
Good
But
for us.
yeah,
How many hours in a subs a day do you typically, so what would they be paid an hour?
ESI currently calculates 7.5 hours a day as a typical assignment. That's what they use.
And do they get benefits on top of that? No?
That's through ESI, so if they work enough, if the ESI is a large enough business, that if they work enough so many hours a year, that ESI is required to give them some kind of benefits.
But that's not paid out of, from our funds.
Correct.
Okay.
So through ESI, they get leave, they get paid leave, they get everything else that we pay our employees depending on how much they work.
Do all our subs have to work through ESI, or can they come in just as they have enough certificate or experience?
All of our certificated subs, all of our teacher substitutes, all come through ESI. That's the agreement that we have with the county and Educational Services, Inc. Our classified subs, we hire directly.
Okay, just based on the resumes.
Correct.
Correct. So all certified subs, we have a contract with ESI to do that now?
We actually have an IGA with the county,
Oh,
and the county is the administrator for this program. And then ESI is, I think, is our bill through ESI or the county, do you know?
Yes,
So then ESI bills us for the hours, but we have an agreement for the county to administer this.
so all we have to do is put a call out to ESI, here's what we need this next week or tomorrow, or.
Right, actually, there's an employee of the county that is our sub coordinator that operates the system that does the calling out.
Within Yavapai.
Yes,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I have another question.
yeah,
So if they're paid a flat rate, then do we actually take taxes out of that, or is the ESI responsible for?
so we will pay, if you look, there is we have to pay 15% in what's called employee-related expenses. So that would be Medicare, Social Security, workers' comp, anything else that ESI has. And then on top of that, we pay a 10% administrative fee, which is really ESI's profit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I won't say profit, that's what they get, and then they
Do what they
they
want.
cover their expenses and that kind of stuff out of that.
Their fee.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Again, an action items.
Oh, and it does say, one more thing, sorry. It does say we'd like to start this on December 1st. If we can actually start this next Monday, which today's the 8th, so that we can get it started earlier, maybe fill more jobs earlier. If we could start this on November 15th, that would be helpful.
So the motion should be this would apply immediately then.
Well, actually, it just followed the existing one, except on
November
the,
15th.
to begin November 15th,
Or you just
2021.
actually change. the
Change that
date
date,
in
yep.
the action.
That'll give us this week to work things out with ESI so that they're prepared starting next Monday.
Peter, it sounds like you're preparing.
It does.
for
Yeah. Whatever gave that away.
Well, it's a win-win, so what can we say? No, for the cost, I mean, what John's explaining it, these are critical positions, and to me, it sounds entirely reasonable. So I will make a motion, if I may, to approve, let's see how, just the increases the substitute day, teacher daily rates, to 120 for short-term without class, 130 for short-term with the class, 150 for long-term assignments to begin on November the 15th.
Fantastic.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, moving on to item 9H, it's our district calendar.
It's never too early to begin thinking about 2022, 2023. That's where we're at. So this is the district calendar for 2022, 2023. Very similar to this current calendar with one, it's not a major change, but I'll say significant. Christmas our winter break is moved 1 week later. Because the legal holiday for the first now is on Monday the 2nd instead of the day before, the 31st. We have to be off that week of the 2nd of January 2nd. So our last day of school is December 22nd. I think this year it's the 16th. So we're moving it a week later. And everything else, we start the first Wednesday in August. We are out the Tuesday before Memorial Day. Graduation's the Wednesday before Memorial Day. We have similar number of in-service days and holidays and breaks and everything else. This does match with Humboldt's calendar. I have heard rumblings that Prescott may start their winter break Wednesday the 21st and come back Wednesday the 4th, which means it's 2 days shorter than, they only have a 14-day break instead of a 16-day break because they're not utilizing the weekends. And they're concerned about going, see, they have to go till Friday if normally.
Right.
And so they would go until the 23rd of December, where we can get away with going to the 22nd.
Another advantage of a 4-day week.
Bingo.
Son of a gun.
So realistically, just the Christmas.
That's the only significant change to the whole calendar. And we could, this is the only really option that I see, unless we do something similar to what Prescott may do.
And our fall break and spring break aligns with everyone else.
Correct. And our spring break is also aligns with Yavapai College.
Okay, once again, this is an action item. I'd appreciate a motion to approve the 22-23 district calendar.
Your turn, Penny.
It's your turn, Mike.
Come
Come on.
I move that we accept the 2021-2022 calendar as presented to us this evening.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 10A is our Chino Valley USD number 51, Proposition 301 plan.
It's actually the plan formerly known as property.
I actually knew that, but I was reading.
It's always been called the classroom site fund underneath that, and so, and that part was dropped when the legislature took it over, but, so, what we did was, we were able to pare down because of some of the changes in the way it was approached from the legislative level. We were able to pare down some of the things that we have collected documentation for over the last several years. I would tell you, in visiting with the principals, they still do the activities. Some of them still collect some of the documentation, like for example, contact logs. They want to see that teachers are contacting their parents and at what frequency, things like that. But we're not requiring the principals to collect those things and sign off on them. So it's reduced the paperwork burden significantly while still meeting the full intent of the law. So it still has the same things in it, but it gives a little bit more latitude at the building level with what they choose to collect or not collect. Also reduces the paperwork burden for staff. So every year you guys are supposed to approve the plan by December 31st. The law requires that everybody has to vote and that 70% of the staff are eligible to receive the funds, that it has to be approved by at least that margin. So we've never had, I don't think we've ever had approval less than 97%. This year we have 98% affirmative. We had 123 staff who are eligible to receive the money vote, and 121 voted yes, 2 voted no. So, and what we've learned over the years is we usually have 2. The 2 who vote no vote on principle they don't think they should have to do this to get paid. So it's just like that. It's just like the concept.
Do they still get this money?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
So, and whether they vote yes or no, they still get the money. So,
Golly shucks.
this year, it will be not less than $9,000 gross per eligible person unless they are less than full-time, and then it's prorated to match their FTE, their full-time equivalent as an employee. So you have in front of you the pared down plan that we submitted to staff for vote. Teachers were presented the plan by their administrators and had an opportunity to ask and answer questions. We've gathered input for the plan, and what you see before you is a request to approve the classroom site plan.
So my question has actually nothing to do with the plan itself.
Okay.
So it says 123 staff members eligible. So
Yes,
are
ma'am.
there some that are not
Correct.
eligible? And what type of staff would that be?
Administrators,
Okay.
custodians, people that don't have direct teaching responsibilities.
Also, we do have teachers that are on assignment, like our academic coaches.
Or
Instructional
like
coaches.
our EL coordinator, she teaches half a day and is coordinator half a day. So she's like our part-time eligible.
And their teacher on assignment salaries are adjusted to compensate for that, for not getting the classroom site
So they're
fund.
still getting it, just.
They're just getting it through M&O in their regular pay rather than
Right, so
in a.
for example, school counselors, like there are districts who help people be eligible for it, but then they put teaching responsibilities on them. And we just went ahead and built it in rather than trying to have them have to do a lesson here or there.
Right.
You know, just like contrived stuff, it's like, man, we wanna make it easy for people to get the money. Our goal has always been what comes in goes back out to the people who are eligible.
That's great.
And there's two other changes that I want to mention that are based on the state law. They kind of are represented in the plan. One is that it used to be where 20% of the total funds had to be performance pay, and we've decreased that to 5%. And then we used to give out the money, there was actually three pots that the money went into, and we paid it out over 6 different pays. And now there's only one pot. And so that one pot of money is getting paid out over 4 pays instead of 6.
We've aligned those special pays, so it's not run with regular payroll to help them with taxes. It's run on special payrolls, and we've tried to align those payrolls to be prior to the time when you might need it, like fall break, you know, Christmas break, that kind of stuff, so.
Are paras ever eligible to get those funds?
We've never included paras, it's always been our certificated staff that have gotten it.
So for example, just because if you include more people, you don't get more money. It's based on the number.
It gets.
Yeah, it gets watered down.
Yeah.
And then I think too, you know, noteworthy is that, this district is unique in that it goes to teacher pay. Some of our neighboring districts hold it back to offset costs of health insurance, which is allowable under the law, to hire additional teachers. Class size reduction is allowable under the law. We have never used, since I've been here, that was one of the first things I was tasked with when I was hired 14 years ago. And this governing board has always made it a priority to find money for those kinds of things from other sources, so we could maximize what the teachers got in their pocket. So I think that's a big kudo to the board for having that value.
Cindy, could you remind me what the base salary is of first-year bachelor's teacher, certified teacher?
We're sitting, 33 right now? Yeah. So this pumps 9K on top of that.
Right.
Which makes us competitive. So districts that aren't giving the full amount might have a little bit higher base, but then they're not seeing it this way, so.
That's good. Any other questions? I think that's wonderful. I'm glad that we're able to give some more. Action item, so if I could have a motion to approve.
If
Classroom
we
site
could,
plan.
if we could change Prop 301 to classroom site fund.
your motion.
Classrooms.
Yes.
Alright, who's
Site
ready
fund.
to do site
Yeah.
fund?
I move we approve the Chino Valley Unified School District number 51 classroom site fund plan.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thanks. Thanks for all your hard work on that. Item 11A is our second reading of revised policies, GBGBR, GHG, IMB, JLCB, JLCBR.
And I do want to mention, this is an action item, so this is the second reading, so this will be approved today, if you choose to. These were the changes that were made initially, or actually reversing the changes that were made a while back,
Thanks to the court.
when the court decided that the log rolling, putting policy items into the budget bills wasn't allowed, and then the Supreme Court came out recently and affirmed that that's not allowed. So that's all this is reversing the state law, because the state law was reversed in essence.
It no longer prohibits us.
Correct. Doesn't mean we're gonna do it. All it means is that we are no longer prohibited from doing these things.
Any other questions or comments on these wonderful policy revisions? Okay, so with that, then I would accept a motion to approve.
Okay. Madam President, I will make a motion to approve all of the second reading of the revised policies as in our agenda.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, can I have a motion for, we don't have to have a motion, do we?
No.
Good night.
Give us the gavel.
It's been a long day.
Anything clarifying? You good?